Hey, John, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you giving us time to talk about Cove and its unique backup available to our customers. So as you know, I usually kick these things off with a little bit about you. So I'm going to throw it to you. Can you tell us a little bit about you, where you work, and your experience in the industry?
For sure. My name is John Hiltz. I'm the principal account executive for Cove Data Protection, which is the backup solution offered by Enable Technologies. I've been with Enable now for just over a decade. I started here as an inside sales rep doing cold calls and just worked my way through this. We acquired Cove about 8 years ago, and I just saw how amazing a product it was and attached myself to it and been here ever since.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we're really excited with our partnership with Cove. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what makes Cove different than some of the other products that are available to customers in the marketplace?
For sure. Well, the backup space is dominated by image-based technologies, right? And whether you choose to use a Veeam or an Acronis or an Axiom or any of these flavors, they really are just that. They're flavors. They're all underlying at their core image-based technologies. Cove's been around since about 2004 underneath different names, but we built our own unique backup technology. And really the purpose and what our partners get the benefit from here is that they can protect their customers' data at a more granular level, more importantly, protecting it more often, and then being able to retain that data for a much longer period of time.
Well, that's fantastic. So how does it differ? I'm a layman. What does that mean when it's different than image technology?
Simply put, image-based technology requires a lot of replication of the same data that's already there. So while you may not have a massive data set, because you're repeating things over and over and over again, the footprint for it in the long term grows quite quickly. And yes, local storage and cloud storage is becoming more and more commodified, but there's still a cost associated with it. So if you need a lengthy period of time or a more frequent backup policy in terms of the frequency that it runs, that cloud cost or storage cost can grow very quickly. In our case, what we've developed is a technology that allows us to only actually see the changes, the true changes since the last job. That replication that's happening with image-based technology, we get rid of all of that. And so in turn, the backups are much smaller and therefore quite a bit faster. If you have customers who potentially are rural or just don't have great internet connections, now we can do those backups and not dampen their network. And more importantly, we can protect a much longer period of time without incurring these thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cloud costs.
Okay, so I think what I heard you say is if I've been reducing the number of backups I take as a means to reduce my cost, Cove helps solve for that problem.
Exactly.
Okay, so I can have more backups for the same money, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's really great. I know, over the years we've seen lots of customers who are rightly trying to maximize their dollars, as we all do, and they started thinking about, well, do I really need 7 years of retention? Can I get away with 5? Can I get away with 3? So that's a great feature for sure. So talk to me a little bit about what happens if the worst happens. So I maybe I get a ransomware event or my building burns down. Is there anything that Cove does that's relatively unique to get me back up and running quickly?
Definitely. We have a feature called Standby Image, and what this allows our partners to do is provide almost real-time failover to a separate piece of infrastructure, whether that infrastructure is local to the client, local to one of our partners, even in the cloud in some cases. And so where in a lot of cases, our partners, the MSPs that is, end up needing to purchase multiple products to support their customers, we can build it all into one place. And so they get a better quality of life. Again, they can bring to market at a much more agreeable price point because the labor costs are lower. And because they get the flexibility of the full product stack versus being limited for certain products, they make sure their customers who need that almost real-time failover have it, while their customers who don't necessarily need all those features can still be supported as well. As an added benefit, we also have the ability to test the backups without any manual intervention from the customer or our partners, which in turn, from a cyber liability insurance perspective, is providing the auditor with that data to make sure they pass the audit and they keep the premiums where they are.
Yeah, that we love that feature. I think the other thing that you touched on that may not be obvious to people that watch this video is those of us in the managed services space. Tool sprawl, too many tools is a big problem, and being able to watch fewer products do multiple things is a lot easier. So it's way less likely that we miss something, or that an integration stops working and we don't get we're not aware of it. So reducing the amount of tools involved in our stack is a great feature for sure. Is there anything else you think that would, the end user, an average customer might want to be aware of that Cove does that's unique or not the same as what everybody else does?
Certainly. Well, we market it as Cove Data Protection, not Cove Backup and Recovery. And one of the reasons we do that is because immutability is a hot topic in our industry today in data protection. Immutability for the layman just means that once the backups occurred, it cannot be altered and cannot be deleted, which is a great feature. And in a lot of cases, vendors are charging additional costs to allow for you to do this, or they're saying you need to go find another place to do it. And to your point about API connections, one more thing to manage, one more thing to babysit. In our case, we're providing immutability at no additional cost to our partners, which means their customers are getting the benefit of when the backups happen, they're protected, they cannot be altered or deleted. Expanding upon it, though, we have something called Fortified Copies, and this is something that only Cove is doing in the space today. What this essentially means is there are 3 separate copies of that one backup job that cannot be accessed from anyone except from our support team. And so, God forbid, some sort of true ransomware attack, massive breach of a dashboard happens, even if data is actually deleted, we can get it back for our partners within a given period of time. And I've actually had this happen to partners before where maybe not an entire dashboard gets deleted, but certain devices get removed. And thankfully, their customers are protected because they tell our support team and they were restored back within a couple hours.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like we've talked a lot about sort of what I would consider to be like server-based backup. I know you do more than that. You do Microsoft 365 backup, you do desktop backup. Can we talk a little bit about, let's talk a little bit about Microsoft 365. I know our clients, when we first talk to them, often assume that because they're in 365, everything is backed up. Can you maybe shed some light on that for them?
For sure. In fact, to your point, Greg, going back a couple of years, our marketing team actually made a document detailing what exactly Microsoft provides versus what a managed service provider would provide in comparison, right? It's quite a stark contrast. And you're right. I don't believe it to be arrogance to the end user. It's just ignorance to what they actually think they're getting. And taking it a step further, if you actually review Microsoft's terms and services for Office 365, they themselves recommend using a third-party backup solution. So what we do is we connect directly into the tenant. We back up all the Exchange users, all the OneDrive data, all the SharePoint sites, the Teams channels. We back it up for a minimum of 7 years and up to 6 times per day. So we're capturing that data. We're making sure that we're meeting certain certifications and compliances around the globe for all of our partners. We're keeping it in country. So people like ourselves being in Canada, there's a lot of vendors today who just operate in the US. We're protected. Our data stays in Canada. And we're just making sure that all those critical emails and documents that are being shared with an organization are being captured in the same fashion to be backup devices.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love about Cove particularly is we do have customers with specific compliances, and you've provided us with a great grid that says if you have a specific compliance, here are the data centers globally that can support that, so we can have an open conversation with the client to go, if you're ISO, I'll just pick a random one, 14001, for that in Canada, US, Ireland, and Australia. But maybe if you're 1270001, maybe that's only available in Ireland and Canada as an example. So it's really nice to know that we can have that conversation with clients. So 6 times a day, that's a lot. I think most experiences I've had with backup is maybe once a day. So that email that you got in the morning, if your backup runs at night and you delete it by mistake, I actually put a LinkedIn post out not that long ago. I managed to nuke my entire calendar. I was doing an API integration and I hit a wrong command and I wiped out about 900 calendar appointments for this year. And within 15 minutes, Cove had my calendar back. Now I still had the wonderful apologies to make to everybody I event spammed, all the like cancellations from 3 months ago, but real world experience of I was panicked for probably 5 or 6 minutes until I was like, oh, we got Cove. Let's get that restored. So the team had it done in 5 minutes. So that was that was good.
Part of what makes my job so enjoyable is hearing that from you. I get to hear examples like that almost every month now. A partner emailed me unprompted. We dealt with your support team, or we had this major issue. We were able to restore all the data back. Your support was able to make sure everything worked for us. They were kind, they were respectful. And these sound like things that we should just expect from customer service, but you and I both know, working in this space for so long, good support can be very hard to find. A reliable backup solution, that's what keeps people up at night. Is this actually going to work when it comes to? And personally, it's why I've been with the company so long, because something that I can actually believe in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I agree. Backup is kind of that last bastion of safety, right?
Mhm.
And it's interesting to have seen. I remember, I'm old enough to remember backups on tape drive, tape carousels, like all of the different types. And we've been really happy with the work that we've done with Cove, which is fantastic. So. Maybe just talk a little bit now about, we touched about 365, we talked about server, virtualized server. What does desktop backup look like?
Oh, awesome question. The best part is we treat desktop backup the exact same we treat server backup. So that critical data, the same technology, being able to back it up as often as you want, and retain as much data as you want, that's included in the same thing. And it goes back to what I was mentioning before, and you said too, the tech sprawl, the vendor sprawl. We want to eliminate that. And so versus making our partners utilize multiple different technologies just because there's a device category difference, doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's pass on the same benefits to those desktops. Do we need to back up every desktop in that fashion? Probably not. But when it comes time to those VIPs, or those C-suites, or the executives, we know that we have their data in the exact same critical restore fashion as we would the servers.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things we hear from clients all the time is, I don't need to back up. Everything is on the server. And I'll blame myself. I have the same rule here. Everything's supposed to be on the server, but I'm mobile. So everything that I'm actively working on is probably on my desktop. Everything I'm done is on the server. And so having the ability to basically do a quick restore for any file nobody's ever opened up a file in Microsoft and I don't know, like plan to clone it for another customer and forget to save it as a separate copy and rewrite everything on top of it. And so the ability with a quick connection to the help desk team to go, yeah, I'm an idiot. Can you restore this file for me?
Exactly.
It's been a great thing. And I agree, definitely doesn't need to be on everybody's desktop. The people with the key critical data, travel, road warriors, or the people that, the cost of Cove desktop backup is not expensive. So if chasing the person to follow the policy is more painful than $20 a month or whatever the fee is, my argument is just pay the $20 because you're always gonna have to chase that person. So
the big benefit I find too, tying back to how the technology works with those road warriors, you're opening and closing your laptop all day long. You're at home, you're at the office, you're at the airport, you're at a hotel. One of our executives actually, as a bit of a test on Cove, had his laptop blue screen leaving Ottawa, going to London, gets to our London office, picks up a new laptop, was able to recover back the entire machine, doing a bare metal recovery over the bar Wi-Fi at the hotel.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, it's a great product. And I think that people a lot of people are stuck kind of in 5 years ago backup. And certainly we feel that Cove is something that is a great product to help our clients move forward. In fact, we include the Microsoft 365 backup as a standard in our best managed services package. You just get it. And then as far as servers, we obviously do how many servers do you have and a right size, right fit analysis. So, okay, well, I appreciate it. You've kind of given me about 15 minutes. Is there anything you'd like to leave with closing remarks for people, or are you good?
Just that it's been a pleasure to work with you and your brother, CJ. You guys are great guys. We love you having you as a partner, and we appreciate the partnership here.
Oh, awesome, John. I really appreciate it. We really enjoy you guys too. So, all right, man, I really appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye.